Hey there, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Ann Perry. I am a numerologist, and I have a Master Number 11 membership for which my dear friend Laura Warren is going to be speaking in at the end of this month. Hey, Laura, how are you?
I am wonderful.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so grateful that you've decided to come back. We've done many videos together, and they've always been super interesting and super successful, and people seem to gravitate towards them. So this is going to be a really hot topic. We're going to be talking about this it'll be Monday, March the 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern time in the Master Number 11 membership. And we're going to be talking about how can Master Number 11s cope with psychic vampire attacks during lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This was your topic idea. So you're going to have to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, first, I think just the quality of Master 11s, the qualities that they have, they're a little bit susceptible to psychic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't realize that the people around us that are surrounding us are psychic vampires.
Right.
And psychic vampires are just basically people, whether they're aware or not. They're people that often play the victim role or the wounded child, and they seem to kind of flip everything back around to a negative, and they need you a lot. Everything is about needing, and they tend to draw energy from you just by their behavior or their comments or even their own presence, their energy and how they carry themselves. And so it's really important to kind of know what this is, because you'll meet these kinds of people all over the place. I mean, they could be in workplaces, they could be part of your social circle, they could be family members. But during lockdown, we're stuck. We're stuck in those four walls with people. And how do you protect yourself? How can you deal with a psychic vampire if they're in your space 24/7?
And so for those of you who don't know, Laura is a psychic medium. She is laurawarrenmedium.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I always get that wrong. So Laura's had firsthand experience with this big time, many times. And so this is why we've chosen to talk about this. But we were talking earlier about another word for a psychic vampire might be a narcissist.
Yeah, I really feel like that's kind of the new spin on the psychic vampire. And I know people may not have heard the term psychic vampire, but that's been around for ages. And,
Right.
Anne and I both know this is something that we encounter in this, world of energy that we're in, and as a light worker. So I think it's something that if you've been in that field, you understand it. Psychic vampire, it's been around forever. But this new term for narcissist, to me, it sounds exactly like psychic vampire. Yeah. But it's just a more solid, concrete way to describe them. So the way that narcissists work to control and manipulate, the way that they're never wrong, the way they kind of turn every story so they always look good, the way that they gaslight people, these are all things that psychic vampires have been doing forever. So when we look at that connection between the narcissist and the empath, we can say very easily that psychic vampires act the same way with empaths. And we know how many Master 11s are empaths.
Oh, so absolutely. Many. Yeah, super sensitive. Yeah, super sensitive. And I appreciated you coming up with this topic, because Master Number 11s, those of them who are really stuck in lockdown, trapped inside with their narcissistic husbands or wives or parents or whatever, it's super difficult. And all we're trying to do is give you some coping mechanisms, some coping tools, right?
And so, this is good information for anybody, even if you're just trying to build those boundaries, It can be about you just realizing that you don't want to invite this kind of energy into your life.
I do remember being faced with a narcissist in the corporate work environment. The last corporate job, gig, whatever I had before I went full time doing this, this fellow that was working with me was just horrible, right? He had a really good sense of humor. That's why we got along well, because I have a great sense of humor too. So I could kind of tolerate his behavior, but something happened and he just turned coyote ugly on me. And it was very difficult. But at one point in time, I realized, as hard as he tried to trash me and destroy my reputation and make himself look like the big hero, as they will do, he was kind of sucking the life out of me, so to speak. And I was kind of allowing it because I was getting really upset. But I remember thinking to myself, you know what? This is going to stop right here, because he's my greatest gift.
Mhm.
I saw him as my gift. I saw him as the guy that was showing me the door, like making my life so much of a living hell in that workplace. But I didn't have the courage to step into my full-time passion, which was numerology. But just by being in his company, it was enough for me to say, I don't belong here. Right. So
Mhm.
I turned it around and showed gratitude
Mhm.
for the narcissist, believe it
And
or not,
see,
and actually worked really well.
why are adversities put in our path? They're there so that we can learn from them. And when we do learn from them, proper thing, we should be grateful because we're a better person for going through that.
Yeah.
And why, how would we know how to better ourselves, have good boundaries and healthy relationships going forward if we didn't know the signs?
Yeah.
What does a psychic vampire look like? How do
Yeah.
they behave? How do you feel after they're done, sucking on you? because that's, they're
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
they're pulling the energy, right out of you. And so I bet in your case, you would come home at the end of the day probably completely exhausted
Oh, it
because
was. Yeah.
it's very draining. It's very soul sucking.
Yeah.
So it's important information. And actually, a master 11 came to me with a dilemma, and this all kind of came from that because I was teaching her about energy boundaries, about
Mhm.
having energetic boundaries, and how you could let somebody take all your sacred life force from you if you don't have these boundaries in place. So that's really where all this came from, because I just thought this master 11 didn't have a concept for it, didn't understand it, and I just thought, wow, this is kind of big, this to realize that we
Yeah.
not only have to set physical and emotional mental boundaries, but we have to set spiritual boundaries too.
Energetic ones. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And so when we meet on the 29th, you're going to be explaining a 3-part process. Do you want to
Mhm.
kind of vaguely go over that a little bit, maybe,
Yeah.
without giving away
So
the whole farm?
yeah, no, I don't want we're not gonna do that.
Teasing.
I this this
Keep them
I
easy.
wanted to break it down and like make it really simple,
Yeah.
because what happens when you're in like an emotional like trauma in the immediate moment? We
Yeah.
never think clearly. We never know what to do. It's some things just take us by surprise, and then we don't act appropriately. So my whole thought was, if I could teach master 11s how to protect themselves,
Mhm.
then you start to pull back that sacred life force energy to yourself. You start to think a little bit clearer, become a little bit more aware.
Right.
And then the second part of this is to make a plan, because if you
Mhm.
have a plan for how to deal with your psychic vampire, then when those things happen in the moment, you're going to know what to do. You're going to
Yeah.
deal with that situation better. So it's about strategizing. And
Okay.
then the third part is to make sure that you recharge. So you have to recharge your energy. You have to take time for that self-care so that you can get
Mhm.
yourself back to center.
Yeah. And that in itself is a threat to the narcissist or the energy vampire, right?
Totally.
The psychic vampire. It's a complete threat. As soon as you start taking back your power, that becomes a threat because you're no good to them
Right.
anymore, right?
And there's a distinction here too, because I would say that if you're feeling like your safety is being threatened,
Mhm.
that's a different level to this, that you
Yeah.
really need to reach out to authorities and get help. And during lockdown,
Good point.
that's a big concern for me, that people know that if you're feeling like your actual safety is a problem, like reach out and get help.
Yeah.
This is more about the negative forces in your life, the negative people that depend on you to feel better, but after it, you don't feel better.
Right.
So we're talking about those energy exchanges that we have with people.
Mhm. Mhm. And given that energetically, many, especially in the UK right now, they're in crazy lockdown.
Yeah.
I know all over the world that this is happening, but it's getting a little long in the tooth, right? And people are getting really worn out and getting really tired. And the 11s are the ones that they're the givers, right? They love to be there. They love to support. They like to be part of a partnership and whatnot. But even for them, this is becoming overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's not really talked about too often how to take care of our energetic selves.
Yeah. And we're all tired. I mean,
Yep.
it's been enormous psychological stress for a lot of people. And I think this is kind of like, we're taking this one step further. We're saying, yes, we've had this overshadowing pandemic, and yes, everybody's weary of the restrictions and the lockdowns. But when you are in a physical space with somebody and you literally can't escape them, and you're finding that their energy is draining you, what do you do? And it's true. It's not something that people talk about, but I know when I was teaching in a public school, these are all things that I had to do, because you come in contact with so many people, so many students and other teachers and staff, and all different personalities. And these are all strategies that I used when I was teaching, not really knowing exactly what I was doing at the time, not knowing everything about psychic vampires and that kind of thing. But now looking back on it, that's exactly what was happening. So this is like, it's information you can use now in your home during lockdown with loved ones. These are people that you love and you just want to have better relationships with them. And it is true that psychic vampires, they sort of feel like the deficit, the release of you, and they may kind of fight back. But this is a good indicator, because people that love and respect you will appreciate that you've set boundaries. And there are psychic vampires, there's reformed psychic vampires. Okay. So yeah, there's this old thing, you know,
psychic vampires.
there's this thing, you know, we do teach people how to treat us, right? And the people that love you will respect your boundaries. The only people that will be upset about your boundaries are the people that benefited from you having none. So that's so important to remember. But this is, like I said, this is something, simple things that you can use and do and feel better in the moment and feel even better down the road using these techniques.
I can't wait. So we're going to be learning how to energetically protect ourselves. We're going to be learning the proper dialogue, you know, with how to deal with this sort of thing, whether it's in your workplace or whether it's in your home, in your families, if it's just friends, that kind of thing, you're going to know how to handle it. We're going to be talking about grounding and clearing your energetic field, and possibly talking about which angels to bring in to help with that.
Like a huge show. That's huge.
Oh no, it's going to go for a while. So if you want to connect with us, this is going to be a live event, and it's going to happen on, I have to keep looking at my calendar, I don't know why, but that is Monday, March 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's www.masternumber11.com. That's where you join. It's $11 a month. If you just want to watch this one show, it's $11, right? You don't have to continue in the membership if you don't find it useful. But I think you will, because there's all kinds of really cool content in there as well that all Master Number 11s can benefit from, for sure. There's like 3 years worth of videos in there that are really, really helpful. So I hope that you'll consider joining us. You need to make sure you check out Laura at laurawarrenmedium.com. She's got a great website up there. Check her out. She does kick-ass readings. I know, because I've had, I don't know, gazillions. She's my go-to person. So if you want to talk to anybody out there, you just call Laura. 1-800 dial up. She's got it. So she's my go-to girl. Anyway, I really hope that you'll consider joining us. Thanks, Laura. Really appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, Anne. Always a pleasure.
And we'll look forward to seeing you. Take care, guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.